Rashtra Vikas Aghadi government, Aaditya Thackeray was instrumental in Shiv Sena shedding its Marathi Manus image and taking on a more modern stance. The former Environment Minister and crusader was at the forefront of the protests against the RE Metro car shed, standing firmly with the people. Under Aaditya Thackeray's leadership, Mumbai became the only city in South Asia to have a climate change mitigation plan. From making public transport seamless to bringing IB curriculum for BMC schools, he worked tirelessly to transform India's financial capital and make it more inclusive. But at the same time, Aaditya Thackeray didn't lose sight of Shiv Sena's core values. His first solo visit to Ayodhya saw him taking forward his father's vision and countering criticism from the BJP about being soft on Hindutva. The conscientious and well-read Aaditya Thackeray is the perfect blend of modern and traditional, and always willing to fight the good fight.
I now invite Mr. Aaditya Thackeray to stage. Our managing editor Zakir Jacob and our Mumbai bureau chief Vinaya Deshpande shall moderate this session. A huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Aaditya Thackeray.
Thank you very much, Aditya, for joining us here on the CNN News 18 Town Hall. As we went down to greet him, the first thing he said to me was, "Welcome to Worli." And I said, yes, thank you very much, because he is the local MLA here and we are in his constituency. So can we have a round of applause for that?
Thank you, and I hope I didn't sound like Jaikant Shikre saying welcome to Goa.
No, you certainly didn't. Let's start off with the city of Mumbai. You're, of course, a Mumbaikar. You're so passionate about the city, the direction of the city, and what it envisages to be. We've heard Mumbai will become like Shanghai, will become like Singapore, will become like Tokyo for a number of years now. The point is, we haven't got there. Many people have outlined visions as to how to get there, but we're still a distance away, maybe many years away, maybe decades away. What is your vision of where Mumbai should be 10 years from now, and what is it that you were not able to do in the 2.5 years that you were in power to achieve that vision?
No, I think primarily we shouldn't start off aiming ourselves to be like someone else, because when you try to emulate someone else, having a role model is good, but trying to look like someone, trying to behave like someone, and I'm not saying this in a political sense because I'll be misconstrued again, it's a form of mimicry then. There will be, obviously hurdles in every city, and every city that has grown. If you see, cities have always been the growth center for the human race. In today's world, when we speak about ease of doing business, ease of compliance, yes, we've done a lot as a country. We've moved ahead in terms of ease of doing business. But what is very, very crucial for us as Indian cities is to promote ease of living. We need to define what urbanism is. We need to define what urbanization is, because there was a time in our recent past where urbanization was seen as a negative thing, where migration from the rural areas to the urban centers was seen as a negative thing. But today, the fact remains that we have a huge migration of a working population, be it a floating population or a permanent residency population, that is moving towards urban centers. We need to look at a couple of things when we speak about cities, especially cities like Mumbai, Chennai, Bangalore, Surat, Delhi, Kolkata, where we're looking at housing. That is the first and foremost thing, because even today we've got slums, we've got people without a roof on their heads, we've got people struggling for homes, and we saw this as the biggest crack in our governance systems across the country when we were facing COVID lockdown. So I think that is the first. Two, for any country, for any state, any city to move ahead, we need quality education. We have right to education, but we need quality education. We need equality in education and equality in quality of education. So be it the availability of your state board, SSC, then CBSE, ICSE, IB, IGCSE. We need options for either affordable or free education. Then, of course, going beyond that, you need healthcare. And apart from that, you need the other basics, which are parks and gardens, footpaths for pedestrians to walk around, and good roads and public transport systems. So I think these are some of the things, and this is what we were focusing on when we speak about Mumbai.
But, while you say all these things, and I know for the last few years you've taken steps for this as well, but you've been at the helm at BMC for decades now, and still, when one talks of Mumbai, one unfortunately looks at, pothole-ridden roads, deaths due to potholes, and a flooded city which just cannot handle monsoons year after year. For decades, why hasn't that picture changed for Mumbai?
So what we couldn't change in decades, we changed in 2.5 years in terms of a little jump ahead. Couple of things. First, something that I'm very proud of for the BMC and all our other agencies who work together, the Hind Mata region. You've worked in Mumbai for a long time. I've seen Mumbai for a long time. Every time we have heavy monsoons, the first place where the media parks up and politicians park up to show fingers and point fingers at each other is Hind Mata. This was the first time where we had heavy monsoons and the Gandhi Market area and Hind Mata did not flood. That was primarily, again, because of the monsoon tanks, the rainwater harvesting and percolation pits that we created.
Are you sad that the credit for it was taken by someone else?
No, I don't fight for credit. I'm happy when I went to Gandhi Market. When I went to Gandhi Market, all of the shopkeepers hugged me, thanked me for it, showed me their love, took me inside the Gandhi Market, so they were very happy about it. The flooding tanks that we've created, and we're working on one near Milan Subway, the other one's coming up near Andheri, so Milan Subway by next year would be flood-free. You need to work on that. The other one, of course, is, yes, there are things like roads, there are issues to do with every civic aspect and across all our cities. The problem therein lies where you have 16 or 17 different agencies that are running the city. For example, in Mumbai, for every single week that we had, we were in government, I had a meeting personally as the Guardian Minister of Mumbai with MMRDA, SRA, MHADA, the Mumbai Police, Traffic Police, BMC, Forest Department, 16 different agencies for every little bit, be it footpaths that I was focusing on, or safe schools, or better schools, or parks or gardens, or something like the coastal road. Now the coastal road or the MTHL or the Worli-Shivdi connector or the Dahisar-Mira Bhayandar link road, all of them have at least 3 or 4 agencies linked to its work. And the work that would have taken about 6 to 8 months because of our weekly meetings was getting done every single week. I think the secret herein lies either make a single authority for a city like Mumbai or sit with everyone together and just ensure that everyone works together. Once they sit together, everyone works.
No, one issue, before we get to the next question, I think the fact that Hind Mata did not flood this time is like an 8th wonder of the world. So I think we should have a round of applause for that. But one issue that is very close to your heart, and you fought very hard for this, is the RA forest area. Tell me what went through your mind when the current government changed that decision? And today, just an hour ago, we had the Deputy Chief Minister and we asked him a question about this. And he said, the previous government went after RA, but the High Court had approved it, the Green Tribunal had approved it, and he claimed that there was a committee that your government had appointed which also upheld the fact that the car shed should be built in RA.
He's looking into the first committee, not the second committee. And it depends on, it frankly depends when you move a matter to court or when you move a matter to NGT and other places. It also depends on what the government sees and presents its reports and EIAs as. The issue with RA was simple. Even today there are some misnomers being spread, some rumors being spread that the whole line was stopped. No, we did not stop the work for the 33 kilometers of, the Seeps-Kolaba line. We only stopped the work at RA. 2, of course, there are some faults with that line that have still not been answered, and they will not be answered because the speed at it's going. First, the 10,000 crore escalation. It was done before December 2019. According to which norm? Nobody knows. CVC rules, broken. That is a different thing altogether. Let me not get into that. 2, there's a thing called the stabilizing line. When you have an issue with one of the trains that is running on the 33 kilometers, you need to have a stabilizing line where you can pull out the metro bogie, bring in another one, insert it and repair this one. There is not a single one on the 33 kilometers. 3, the issue with RA car shed is not about a particular land. It's not about only the trees, because a lot of times I've heard this thing about, only 2,700 trees, you have got 30,000 trees here, this highway is going to take 1 lakh trees. It's not about trees. Yes, saving trees is important, and we try to do that as much as possible. But this is about a forest, a living and breathing forest in the city of Mumbai. just 6 months ago, we had a camera trap set up there with the government of Maharashtra Forest Department and a couple of local NGOs and reporters. We've spotted 5 leopards in that car shed area, which means that this is a living and breathing forest. If you have a living and breathing forest, the thing was simple. Let's shift this out to somewhere else, because this car shed, this metro depot, can only serve us till about 2034 or maybe 2040 till the max. We were trying to link it up with Kanjur Marg. Today, as Metro Line 6 is coming up, Metro Line 6 does not have a car depot, and it had started work in 2018. Why was it so? So when we took it to Kanjur Marg, it was simple. There were lines 3, 6, 4 and 14 connecting the entire MMR region, a population of almost 2.5 crores to 3 crores, through one nodal point, saving us almost 10,000 crores, because instead of acquiring 4 different lands, building 4 different car sheds, you could have had it in one place. And that could have saved us money, time, energy, everything. And that is the whole idea. So this is not about an ego issue. This is not about, your ideology, my ideology. This is about a practical issue. We're saving a forest. It's going to harm everyone else. It's going to harm us who live in Mumbai.
But soon after that decision was taken, like I remember that was one of the first decisions that was taken as soon as this government came to power. Your father gave a statement saying that, don't take revenge on Mumbaikars if you're upset with us. Do you still feel that bitterness?
It is. I mean, he asked me that about what my first thought was. And we felt sad because, they could have taken any decision in terms of the first cabinet decision. Our first cabinet decision was giving 600 crores to the fort of Raigad, which is Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj's fort, for its restoration. That was our first decision. This dispensation, I don't call it a government because I don't feel it is constitutional. This arrangement, whatever it has, tried to seek revenge or avenge whatever we did in terms of the first strike on Mumbai. And today, if you see, Mumbai has no voice in the cabinet. There is no Mumbaikar in this cabinet.
Well, there's Mangal Prabhat Lodha.
No, you need someone who understands the reality of Mumbai, not the reality of Mumbai. And, that's where the nuance is.
So, since we're talking about politics around Mumbai and everybody is gearing up for the BMC elections, looks unlikely that it's going to happen this year. Maybe it'll happen only next year. The question is, are you in a position to defend this fortress of yours? You've been in power here for the BMC last, God knows, 20, 30 years. The BJP has put out a target of 150 plus. Will you be able to defend this fortress after what we've seen over the last 3 months?
Look, it's going to be a mighty attack on us. It's going to be a mighty attack on Mumbai, and we all know that, and we're prepared for that. The fact of the matter is, we have shown a love for the city as Mumbaikars, as someone who stay here, as someone who love the city. This is our Janma Bhumi, our Karma Bhumi. This is going to be our Bhumi forever. In the past 2 years and in the past 25 years that we ruled BMC, or rather served through BMC, not ruled BMC, and served through the government of Maharashtra, the chief minister was from Mumbai. Major projects took off. Things like the BST bus, electric clean transport, trying to hit 10,000. Everything we did largely was also a lot of Mumbai that was never voiced before and has never been voiced as of today. So obviously the Mumbaikars know what we have done for the city, be it in COVID times, being honest with the numbers, transparent with the numbers, our first jumbo COVID care centers, right from that to the sustainable development that we are focused on. And I think people would prefer Mumbaikars to be running Mumbai than Mumbai taking its diktat from somewhere else.
There's one follow-up question to that, Aditya, and that is that critics say that there was an opportunity that the Shiv Sena had in February to hold the BMC polls. You had just overcome the COVID wave, you were being appreciated for the way you handled the wave. There were a lot of weekly meetings going on, a lot of projects going on. There is a sense that if you could have rode on that, maybe things would have been different. Is there a regret that?
No, exactly, right? I mean, the only regret probably is that we don't think too politically. Maybe we could have taken elections last year, gone for elections before the term ended, because the people knew what the COVID handling was. But we don't see these things as typically through a political perspective. We see this for the city. When we were just coming out of COVID, the city was actually bruised. It was, we had memories of COVID across the world. And we thought that we need to give a little breathing space for our authorities to plan the elections better. It has to be a free and fair election. It has to be well managed. We can't, keep hitting our authorities and officers with things after things, and our people things after things. So I think the whole idea was that have it in a good time where people can step out, be safe, and not have the fear of catching COVID.
But then, when you talk BMC, you've seen people like Yashwant Jadhav, you've seen people like Yamini Jadhav. We saw the kind of public statements she made after she left. People who were considered to be extremely close to Matoshri behaving like that. Do you think that it is betrayal, and B, that it is going to affect your fortunes in the BMC elections?
I think people are seeing through it. You know, it's a world that we live in that is open, transparent, 24/7. People know what is happening. People are also aware of what has happened and transpired behind the scenes. I mean, whatever reasons they give, the real reason is out there in the people. I mean, when I ask the people, you know, everyone's speaking about a couple of things that are very prominently out there. But I think the whole idea really is people know what has happened. People will stand by us, and that is what my feeling is whenever the elections happen. And that is why this arrangement of governance is not willing to take elections. I have been appealing to them, saying the 40 of you who don't, you know, want to stay with us, and I don't know what other word than Gaddar can be used for that, you know, resign, face elections again. Whatever the people decide, we're okay to accept that. Because in the history of India, in the political history of India, such a jump without facing elections or without having the guts to face elections has never happened before. And I am saying, I will resign with you and I will face elections too with you. Come on, let's resign and face elections. The other thing is, let's face elections for BMC right now. Not a problem.
So now that it's been a couple of months and the dust has kind of settled on it, what is your best assessment as you look at it in hindsight? What exactly went wrong? Because the criticism from that side is the Thackerays were inaccessible. The criticism from the other side is, oh, the succession plan was very clear now that Aaditya has been moved up as a cabinet minister. So what is there for others, other leaders? So what is your best assessment of what went wrong? Were you inaccessible? Were you blindsided? What was it?
I think there were multiple factors that put the pressure on them to jump ship. Apart from that, of course, in terms of inaccessible, I think I was roaming around, I was everywhere. They've shifted goalposts left, right, center. First, they blamed our allies for spoiling their political fortunes. Then they've blamed them for not giving them political funds for the constituencies or for the departments, which was read out. Then they spoke about Hindutva, their narrative, which we, you know, obviously read our whatever we've done, and that was spoiled. Then, I don't know, I mean, succession plans, I had ministries that were not asked by anybody. Typically, till I took up the environment ministry, till I took up the protocol ministry, or till I took up the tourism ministry, these were ministries given to people who you want to make ministers, but not very prominent ones. I mean, you didn't have the UD with me, you didn't have the industry with me, you didn't have any important portfolio. And these were portfolios, especially something like the UD, which no chief minister in the past 40 years has ever parted with. What more do you give to the people? What more do you give to these 40 people? You know, I was joking about this somewhere, that tomorrow they might be blaming me for wearing a blue shirt every single day, and that's why they hopped ship. So the whole idea is, you know, if someone has ambitions that are monstrous, if someone has pressures on them that cannot be spoken in public, they will hop over. And I don't have a problem with that. You know, I've said them, good luck to you, be happy where you are. That's not the problem. My problems are two. One is, why did you backstab us when we gave you everything? Right, from a trust, love, everything. And two, if you wanted to hop over, why haven't you yet resigned, as it happens in a regular democracy, and contested elections and then gone over to the other side? That's as simple as that.
No, but just as a follow-up on that, I mean, you can understand if 1, 2, 5, maybe 10 MLAs jump. But if 40 out of 55 have jumped,
and 12 MPs.
Yeah, and 12 MPs, wouldn't that lend yourself to the criticism that you did not have a finger on the political pulse of your party?
Well, are we responsible for the same situation in Jharkhand?
Not the Shiv Sena, for sure.
I mean, I understand there's a bow and arrow there too, but, you know, there's a popular saying going around, I don't know how much of it is true, but Pannas Khoke is something I'm hearing all over Maharashtra. Now, I don't know what that means, but there was a minister who offered us on the steps of the Vidhan Bhavan saying, Tumhala paije ka. Now, if this is happening as blatantly as this, are we even pretending to be in a democracy today?
But then the criticism is also that, Aaditya, like you have been touring the state now, you're seeing response for your tours. Just like Uddhav Thackeray is meeting party cadres almost on a daily basis. The criticism is that if you would have done this before you lost power, things wouldn't have been this way.
I agree, but I mean, if you see the visuals that we had in the film before, I was wearing a mask and roaming around almost everywhere. Had I not roamed around, those visuals wouldn't have been available to people. Two, of course, just like I was a serving minister in the earlier government, most of these people, there were about 9 ministers who've become ministers again, were district guardian ministers. By the way, the ministers have got bungalows and cars, but not responsibilities for districts today. Some of them have not even taken responsibilities for the ministries allotted to them. But they were responsible for their own districts. So if they expected me to roam around in their districts, wouldn't that be infringing on, their work as well, and something they've blamed me? So they need to decide whether I was roaming around or not, and whether I was looking into their ministries and districts or not, and then blame me for something, not blame me both ways.
A very strong statement came from your father just a few days ago that when he was battling, when he was on the hospital bed, that was the time when instead of praying for him, people were hatching plans and conspiracies against him. Do you feel bitter about it?
I do. As a son, I do. As a party worker, I do. As a minister in a cabinet that actually earned praise for COVID management for its work, I do. And the inaccessible part for my father is true for this, because around November end, he had to undergo a surgery for his spine. And, I keep saying this again, that because of him, we got to know that politicians have a spine. Otherwise, a lot of us have been blamed for not having a spine and moving whichever way we want to. But that was a tough time for us as a family, because I was in Scotland for COP26. We won an award for Maharashtra's climate action as well. And suddenly there was a second operation that he had to undergo. And those were tough times, because after that surgery, he couldn't move much. He was not very mobile for a long time, for at least 2 or 3 months. And even when I went to meet him, I had to undergo 3 RT-PCRs and 3 rapid tests before I could meet him, because that was the situation and that was the bubble that he was actually operating through. That was the same time that COVID numbers were actually shooting high. And I remember coming down from Scotland, going right to the hospital after these 3 tests and seeing him in not a very, very mobile way. And he was obviously, on his hospital bed. And he couldn't. We are seen to be somewhere, demoralized. What will happen to our state? So I was managing the party affairs, also passing on messages to the government, and through him, he was on his WhatsApp available all the time. He was having VCs with all the district collectors, ministers, MLAs for COVID management. But this was a time where these guys, the 40 Gaddars, were actually conspiring against my father. And, as a son, as an MLA, as a minister in a responsible government, I think that was something that is not expected of. I've seen betrayals before, but I've never seen a betrayal of this low level ever before.
Let me take this to...
Sorry?
Unforgivable? Is that unforgivable?
I mean, it's not about forgiving or not forgiving. It's about your morality. It's about how you are as a human. In Marathi, we have a term for it, vritti. This brings your heart out. This shows what you are made of. And for someone to ditch your own leader, someone who's given you a political identity, someone who's giving you party tickets, ministries that have never been shared before by the chief minister, to behave like that with someone who's given you everything in a time which is the toughest on him, it just brings your heart to the people, shows you your aura to the people. And if you don't belong to him, what loyalty will you have to the people and the state?
Let me take this story forward. Obviously, now this is a long legal battle. You're fighting for this in the Supreme Court as well. There is a lot of speculation that the Shiv Sena could end up losing. Your Shiv Sena could end up losing.
There's only one Shiv Sena. The other 40 are Gaddars.
Okay. You could lose your symbol. You could lose your party name. And only then the BMC election will take place. What is your plan B in case you lose your name as well as symbol?
Look, I mean, after 40 wounds on your back, I don't think there's much to fear about. You've lost everything. People who you trusted, people who you thought were yours, people who you could believe that you could close your eyes and hug and stand with all the time, have betrayed you. What more can you lose? The only difference I feel here is once, this whole episode was done and we saw through what kind of people were there, what kind of humans or what kind of sanskars have happened on them, the culture really. We went out to the people asking them, will you support us, will you stand by us? And the response across Maharashtra has been tremendous. There's been a lot of love for Uddhavji. There has been a lot of blessings for me. The legal battles, however, are not about Shiv Sena anymore. It's not about one party. You've got to realize what has happened in our country is about a whole different kind of law in our politics. It's a whole different story and narrative in our politics. This is not going to be about one party. If today people start taking groups of 5, 10, 15, 20 people, hopping over and start claiming parties, it's not just dangerous for us, it's going to be dangerous for the political parties that are national in nature. equally. It's going to be dangerous for any other regional party. This is about how our democracy is going to shape itself over the next 5 or 10 years. It's going to be about the other states that are in India. This is going to be about political stability in India and whether investors would want to invest in a story that is so politically unstable. I think this is the story and this is the narrative. It's about whether we would adhere to our constitution or not. And this, whatever judgment comes out, is going to be about our political story, it's going to be about our democracy, it's going to be about our constitution, not just the Shiv Sena.
No, we had the Deputy Chief Minister earlier here, and one of the things, this was also an ideological battle. Obviously, you guys were the original Hindutva, as it were, as you claim. And he said that there is no difference between being a Hindu and Hindutva, and people like you don't understand it. So now that you've crossed over to the other side, and now some would describe you've been left in the lurch, how do you see yourself ideologically? Have you diluted your ideology? Is that why these 40 people left?
What is his definition of Hindutva?
He says there's no difference between being Hindu and Hindutva. It's one and the same.
Okay, so what different have we done?
You have supposedly diluted your version
Exactly.
of Hindutva.
So that is my point, and that's what we asked them. Going with the Congress and NCP, which were supposedly ideologically different than us.
Yes.
We always have said we've never left our Hindutva, but our Hindutva is Raghukula Reet Sada Chali Aaye, Pran Jaye Par Jaan Na Jaye, Pran Jaye Par Vachan Na Jaye. And this meant that every promise that we've made electorally, because when we speak about Vachan, we speak about our duty to the people. As people in a political party, Prana Jai Par Vachan Na Jai means everything we do today has to be to fulfill whatever has been on our manifesto, and we've done that. Speaking about Hindutva, Uddhav Thackeray ji was the first political leader in recent times, in 2018, to have gone to Ayodhya and spoken about the Ram Mandir. After that, the court case started taking speed. We have gone there 3 or 4 times in a place where no political leader had gone in the past 2 decades after the whole movement started. In Maharashtra itself, as the government of Maharashtra, being with the Congress and NCP, we gave funds to 10 ancient temples, more than 100 years old, to be restored and repaired. Nowhere did the Congress and NCP oppose it. Because primarily they're not, against something. And we also did not say that we're going against Hindutva, we're going for Hindutva. This is our dharma, we're fulfilling our dharma. I went to Tirupati Balaji Mandir and I requested them to come to Navi Mumbai. We've given them space, and it is this arrangement that has actually delayed that, objected to it and delayed that by more than a month today. They were supposed to start off with their work in Navi Mumbai about a month ago. Through the BMC and through the tourism department, we were supposed to restore 10 ancient temples in Mumbai itself. It is this new dispensation that has put this on a hold. So what is the Hindutva we're talking of? Our last decision in the cabinet was to change the name of Aurangabad, a despotic ruler, to Sambhajinagar. We changed it from Osmanabad to Dharashiv. Yes, probably the difference is, while following our way of Hindutva, we did not incite riots in the state, and that is what the problem with them was. We took everyone together. Our Hindutva is about developing the state, living for the people, breathing for the people, serving the people, and that is what we have started doing. So Raghukula Reet Sada Chali Aaye, Pran Jai Par Vachan Na Jai meant every promise being fulfilled.
But
and that is what we did.
But Aditya, one of the vachans was also the mandate, is the criticism against you, that in 2019 the vachan was that we will come to power with the BJP, and that you betrayed that mandate.
Who broke it first?
Well, they say because you didn't get the chief minister's position.
That was the arrangement. That was what was said in the press conference. All of you have covered the press conference in Worli. What does Sama Saman mean? Pad wa Jawabdari mean? Now let's not get into the analytical breakdown of that statement, but that was what it was. And today, of course, it has been negated by that party. It has been put forward by us. I think that is a thing of the past. But what we are dutiful towards is...
Why do we get into
the other
past?
thing, the other thing was to fight equal number of seats, but we were given 124 seats. Now, the problem with us as political parties, again, is we are fighting over the past. No one's fighting over the future.
But they say the order has been restored now, and that is why we talk about the past.
I wish them all luck, great happiness, but my only prayer to them is, if you want to be principled in politics, resign on the 40 seats of MLAs, resign on the 12 seats of MPs, contest again. Whatever the people decide will be the will of the people, because today we stand in the temple of democracy.
All right, so I think we'll do some audience questions and then we have a rapid fire for you. So Shilpa is here, so Shilpa will help us through the audience questions.
All right, request the respected ladies and gentlemen to raise your hands. I'll come to you. Do not ask your question without the mic. We need the audio to be captured, please. Yes.
And one question
please
per
go
person,
ahead.
please.
Introduce yourself and go ahead.
My name is Vijay Dhamal. I am from Oryx, India. Sir, Aditya ji, मैं
मराठीत पण विचारू शकता.
ओके मी
चालेल ना?
Yeah, absolutely fine.
सर मी तुमचे आजोबा प्रबोधनकारजी त्यांचं पण काही ऐकलेलं आहे आणि मी लहान असताना बाळासाहेबांच्या सभा अगदी मी लालबागला राहिला होतो. प्रत्येक सभा मी अटेंड करायचो आणि त्यांचं भाषण ऐकताना अंगावरती काटा उभा राहायचा. मी त्यांचा फॅन होतो. मी प्रोफेशनल करिअर केला. मी आता व्हाईस प्रेसिडेंट आहे. परंतु तुमच्यामध्ये जे काही गुण आहेत मी तुम्हाला असं पाहतोय की भविष्यामध्ये देशाचा नेता तुम्ही होऊ शकता. आज मी कन्हैया कुमार यांनाही मी फॉलो करतो, त्यांनाही मी ऐकतो. पण आज तुमच्यामध्ये जे काही क्वालिटीज आहेत मी तुम्हाला अजून एक 7 ते 8 वर्षानंतर तुम्ही फार मोठे नेते असाल ही मी अपेक्षा बाळगतो. सर मी तुम्हाला फक्त माझा एक प्रश्न आहे. मुंबईमध्ये ट्रॅफिकचा फार मोठा प्रॉब्लेम आहे. तर तुम्ही मुंबईच्या ट्रॅफिकसाठी भविष्यामध्ये तुमच्यामध्ये काय प्लॅन आहेत सर? थँक्यू सर.
Well, thank you for that question. If I may translate it for the audience, please, for just
Yes,
a minute. He has wished Aaditya Thackeray well and has said that he will become as big a leader as his grandfather Bala Thackeray, and has asked him about the roads of Mumbai and when will there be a solution. Traffic and roads of Mumbai.
Prabodhankar Thackeray, he was also big social reformist.
All right.
थँक्यू. तुमचा प्रश्न खूप महत्त्वाचा आहे कारण ह्याच्यावर मी खूप काम करण्याचा प्रयत्न केलेला आहे आणि ऑफकोर्स आपल्या प्रत्येक शहरामध्ये बघितलं तर ट्रॅफिक ही एक वाढता मोठा एक प्रॉब्लेम आहे. मुंबईचं जर बघितलं तर आत्ताची जी परिस्थिती आहे आपले आहेत ते रस्ते पूर्ण लोकांनी भरलेले असतात कारण गाड्या आहेत, प्रायव्हेट इंडिव्हिज्युअल गाड्या, बसेस भरलेले असतात, ट्रेन्स भरलेले असतात, सायकल्स, रिक्षाज, कॅब्स, ओला, उबर सगळं भरलेलं असतं. 2 गोष्टी ह्याच्यात महत्त्वाच्या आहेत. एक ऑफकोर्स चालण्यासाठी जागा, वॉकेबल फुटपाथ्स, आणि तो माझा मेजर फोकस होता. तुम्ही आत्ता पण प्रत्येक एरियामध्ये बघाल तर गार्डियन मिनिस्टर म्हणून, पालकमंत्री म्हणून मी पहिलं जे केलं ते MMRD असेल, म्हाडा, SRA, रेल्वे वगैरे सगळ्यांना आणि BMC प्रामुख्याने ह्यांना फंड देऊन अनेक ठिकाणी फुटपाथ हे जे पेवर ब्लॉक्स असायचे ते काढून एम्बॉस्ड कॉन्क्रीटचे केले जिथे आपण चालू शकतो. रोड शुड बी वॉकेबल विदाउट क्लोजिंग युअर आईज और क्लोजिंग युअर नोज and having the fear to fall. So I think that was one of the most important thing for me. Pedestrians, zebra crossing असणं गरजेचं आहे, pedestrian refuge area असणं गरजेचं आहे. ह्याच्यासाठी आम्ही ब्लूमबर्ग, WRI वगैरे ह्या सगळ्या संस्थांबरोबर, C40 सिटीज आहे, क्लायमेट ग्रुप आहे, ह्यांच्याबरोबर बसून आम्ही प्लॅनिंग करायचो की वॉकेबल सिटी कसं होईल, चालतं येणारं शहर कसं होणार, हा एक महत्त्वाचा फोकस एरिया होता. तो असणं गरजेचं आहे. आणि दुसरं ऑफकोर्स पब्लिक ट्रान्सपोर्ट, जसं रेल्वेज आहेत, टॅक्सीज आहेत, मेट्रो लाईन येत आहेत, बसेस, त्यापेक्षा सगळ्यात महत्त्वाच्या म्हणजे आपल्या पब्लिक ट्रान्सपोर्टच्या बसेस असतात. बिकॉज बसेस आर सच अ थिंग, अँड आय वॉज डिस्कसिंग दिस विथ द डिरेक्टर फॉर स्ट्रॅटेजी फॉर ट्रान्सपोर्ट फॉर लंडन, अँड ही सेड मोर देन एनी अदर मोड ऑफ ट्रान्सपोर्ट, buses and double-decker buses are the most important for any city, especially a city like London. They've got almost 9,000 buses. Our aim was to hit almost 10,000 looking at the bus to population ratio. Today, if you see, we've gone past the COVID numbers that used to use the bus. For us, the first and foremost thing in a city like Mumbai was flat fares. So the BSC even today is 5 rupees for 5 kilometers, 10 for 10, 15 for 15, and anything beyond 15 kilometers is 20 rupees. The other thing we started doing is increase the number of buses. We were around 3,337 buses 2.5 years ago. Today, we've increased that number to almost 3,500. Going beyond that, we're looking at every single bus in Mumbai to be clean fuel, so either electric or hydrogen. 2, we're looking at almost 900 double-decker buses coming in. So Mr. Gadkari actually inaugurated the first double-decker electric bus. That was what we had called for, and I'm so happy he inaugurated it. I hope he replicates that model across India. But Uddhavji was always keen on double-decker buses, and I was keen on electric buses. So we put together that, and we've got double-decker electric buses. Buses are something that you can actually move around, augment capacity, change routes at any time. तर मला वाटतं ट्रॅफिकवर हे 2 महत्त्वाची गोष्टी होती. तिसरी गोष्ट, कोस्टल रोड जो आपला बनतोय साधारण 65% पूर्ण झालेला आहे. मुंबई ट्रान्स हार्बर लिंक आहे, ती आम्ही वीकली बैठक घ्यायचो. उद्धव साहेबांनी पहिलं गर्डर लॉन्च केलं. जेव्हा आम्ही सरकारमधून बाहेर पडलो किंवा आम्हाला काढलं गेलं त्याच्यातून, तेव्हा 80% पूर्ण झालेलं होतं हे MTHL. नरिमन पॉईंट कफ परेड कनेक्टरची सुरुवात आपण करून दिली. त्याच्यात मी मागे लागून सगळे क्लिअरन्स वगैरे करून दिले. मला वाटतं टेंडर आता त्याचं निघालं असेल. दहिसर मीरा भाईंदर लिंक रोड ह्याची सुरुवात आपण करून दिली. माझा प्रयत्न होता की वेस्टर्न एक्सप्रेस हायवे, ईस्टर्न एक्सप्रेस हायवे, ईस्टर्न फ्रीवे, AGLR, JVLR आणि SCLR ह्या तिन्ही 6 महत्त्वाचे जे रस्ते आहेत, 3 ईस्ट वेस्ट आणि 3 नॉर्थ साऊथ, पेडेस्ट्रियनायझेशन, सिग्नलिंग आणि मूवमेंट ऑफ व्हेकल्स हे एक प्लॅन्ड मॅनरमध्ये व्हावं. आणि दिस वॉज वॉट आय वॉज फोकसिंग ऑन. होपफुली वेन एव्हर वी आर ग्रांटेड द टाइम टू वर्क अगेन बाय द पीपल अँड सिटिझन्स ऑफ महाराष्ट्र, वी फोकस ऑन दॅट. थँक्यू.
All right, we can have a couple more audience questions. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Aditya Pratap. I'm a practicing lawyer. Recently, I had gone to the Voivada court and I passed in front of KEM hospital. I see really the heavy crowds and the bad state of the poor people outside KEM hospital. BMC has more than 80,000 crores in budget. Every year, thousands of crores of flowers and others. But yet, in the last 20 years, we have not seen a single new BMC hospital coming up. My driver, either anyone, they go to
So
KEM.
there are 4 that have already come up recently.
Which ones?
The ones in the suburban centers, there are 4 that have come up and there are 4 that are coming up again.
Okay, that's good. But then it might be
So I'll
more.
tell you, I get your question. Thank you, sir, for
And
thank
just
you,
one-
Aditya, for that.
Yes, and just one more add-on, that you have these days you have BMC has so much money that you can actually set up a Medanta for the public. Like a heavy duty MRI machine costs 12 crores for the BMC's loose change. Like, do a project like that.
So primarily, again, the whole understanding of BMC's fund has to be much deeper than just seeing the 80,000 crores, because a lot of people look at Mumbai as the hen that lays the golden egg. When we took over the BMC in 1997, the BMC was in a deficit of almost 490 or 500 crores. From that, financial planning of Shiv Sena's governments in the BMC has led us to have 80,000 crores in our savings, and each penny is accounted for. Each penny has been allotted to other things and to various things across the city. For example, the coastal road that we are making as a part of the BMC is a 12,500 crore project without escalation, and most importantly, every penny is being used there is citizens' money. So once we have savings like this, the BMC is not going to have a single toll on that coastal road. Multiple things that are coming up across the city are a result of this saving. For example, in 2017, and I'll give you the latest figures very soon, but COVID has distorted those figures in the healthcare sector because of the amount of equipment that came in. But in 2017, the BMC had 13,756 beds in its hospitals. But the daily patient input to these beds was almost 80,000 people, not just from Mumbai, but all across India. The BMC's 90% of these health treatments are free from central government, state government, and BMC, schemes. We have some of the best doctors, we have some of the best medical equipment, and which is why the entire country really, from be it an urban center or a rural center, they come to Mumbai for treatment and they go into BMC's hospitals. But of course, when you have people coming in more than what beds are available or more than what doctors or nurses are available, you will have an overflow and you will have a problem with more than one person or 2 people coming to the same dispensary, for which we have started planning with dispensaries across Mumbai, increasing them, doubling the amount to almost 1,000 dispensaries across Mumbai, which we already had, but this is going on, free healthcare. 2, we need to level the way our hospitals go. Peripheral hospitals, centralized hospitals, you need to have a radial pattern of planning this, and this is what was going on in the past 2.5 years, along with COVID management. And yes, we have world-class hospitals, we haven't promoted them, and that's where we fall back. So maybe some of the 80,000 crores could have been used for better promotion and ads on TVs. We fell back on that. No regrets about that, though.
All right, a couple of more audience questions.
जय महाराष्ट्र.
Jai Maharashtra.
मी डॉक्टर भूषण जाधव. मला एक राजकीय प्रश्न विचारायचा आहे की जेव्हा बाळासाहेबांनी म्हटलं होतं, आपल्या आजोबांनी किंवा आदरणीय बाळासाहेब ठाकरेंनी, की मी माझ्या शिवसेनेची काँग्रेस होऊ देणार नाही आणि ज्या दिवशी मला काँग्रेसबरोबर जावं लागेल त्या दिवशी मी हे दुकान बंद करेन. तर जेव्हा तुम्ही काँग्रेसबरोबर युती केलीत, अनफॉर्च्युनेटली म्हणजे तुमच्याबरोबर ती सिच्युएशन, सडनली तुम्हाला ती सिच्युएशन आली होती युती तुटल्यामुळे, तर जेव्हा तुम्ही युती केलीत आणि जेव्हा काँग्रेसला म्हणजे सोनिया गांधींना भेटायला दिल्लीला गेलात, तेव्हा उद्धवजींना आणि तुम्हाला मनातनं दुःख होत होतं का? आणि आता याच्या पुढचं एक मी असं विचारतो की तेव्हा सिच्युएशन अनफॉर्च्युनेटली अचानक आली होती, आता तुम्हाला पूर्णपणे माहिती आहे की आपण युतीमध्ये नाही आहोत, तर इथून पुढच्या इलेक्शन्स किंवा आता जशी पूर्वी BJP बरोबर तुमची लॉंग टर्म युती होती, तसं इथून पुढच्या सगळ्या इलेक्शन्स तुम्ही काँग्रेसबरोबर तुमच्या आयडियोलॉजीला कॉम्प्रोमाइज करून काँग्रेसबरोबर जाणार का?
एक तर तुम्ही कसं ठरवलं की आम्ही आयडियोलॉजी कॉम्प्रोमाइज केली आहे?
काँग्रेसबरोबर युती केली ना.
नाही पण आयडिओलॉजी कॉम्प्रोमाइज कशी केली आपण कसं ठरवलं?
जर आता समजा
आयडिओलॉजी कॉम्प्रोमाइज
म्हणजे बाळासाहेबांचं जर आपण विधान घेतलं की मी काँग्रेसबरोबर
विधान आणि आयडिओलॉजी मध्ये फरक असतो.
पण
इंदिरा बाळासाहेब ठाकरेंची मैत्री इंदिराजींबरोबर होती, त्यांनी पण पाठिंबा दिलेला.
पण त्यांनी कधी युती नव्हती केली.
नाही आपण चुकतोय. थोडा इतिहास बघा आपण, आणि कॉम्प्रोमाइज काय केलं हे नक्की आपण सांगा. आपण कुठच्याही पक्षाचे असू शकता, त्याचं काही हरकत नाही.
मी अप्रिशिएट करतो, मी उद्धवजींना बेस्ट सीएम मानतो
नक्की, पण आपण मला कॉम्प्रोमाइज कसं केलं मला सांगा.
कॉम्प्रोमाइज या दृष्टीने म्हणतोय की ज्यावेळी बाळासाहेब ठाकरे स्वतः म्हणतात की मला जेव्हा काँग्रेस बरोबर जावं लागेल,
आयडिओलॉजी
म्हणजे बाळासाहेबांचं वचन हे आयडिओलॉजी नाहीये का?
वचन नव्हतं, ते विधान होतं. आणि हिंदुत्व बाळासाहेब ठाकरे जे काही त्यांनी भाषणं केलेली आहेत ही आम्हाला पण माहिती आहेत. आम्ही घरातल्या घरात त्यांच्यासोबत वाढल्यानंतर कोणी आमच्यावर हमला जर केला, कोणी महाराष्ट्र तोडायचा प्रयत्न केला, कोणी शिवसेना मोडायचा प्रयत्न केला, तर त्याला उत्तर कसं द्यायचं हे आम्ही त्यांच्याकडून शिकलेलो आहे. त्यांचंच रक्त आमच्यामध्ये आहे.
नाही पण मला एवढंच
म्हणायचं. I think we can yeah.
I thank you for your question. I thank you for your question.
And thank
for
you,
our
Aaditya,
audience,
for being sporting. We'll take the next.
For our audience, let me please sum it up. Shilpa, for our audience, let me please sum it up. Right now, the gentleman asked a question about, whether there was a compromise with Bala Thackeray's ideology.
Sorry, you're translating all of it. Sorry.
And whether after going with the Congress there was a compromise on Bala Thackeray's ideology, to which Aaditya Thackeray ji responded saying that there was no compromise on ideology and they still continue to walk on the path as suggested by Bala Thackeray.
Sorry, one more thing. उलटा आम्ही त्यांनी जे त्यावेळी शब्द दिलेले हिंदू सम्राट बाळासाहेब ठाकरेंनी, जे गेल्या मागच्या 5 वर्षाच्या सरकारमधून नाही करू शकलो, ते राष्ट्रवादी काँग्रेस आणि आमची महाविकास आघाडीमध्ये करू शकलो. संभाजीनगरचं नाव संभाजीनगर केलं, धाराशिव केलं, अयोध्येबद्दल बोललो, ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टी तर केल्या आम्ही. तर कुठचं कॉम्प्रोमाइज केलं आम्ही?
So thank you, Aaditya Thackeray. Aaditya Thackeray just said that he did fulfill the dreams of Balasaheb Thackeray by going with the Congress and the NCP. He fulfilled the promises that were made by the Shiv Sena to Maharashtra, may it be the renaming of Aurangabad to Sambhajinagar or Dhara Shiv from Usmanabad. Thank you.
Namaskar Aditya ji, my name is Mansoor Ali. I'm a founder director of a company called Amfa India. We manage some of the leading names and institutions in this country on pandemic times on air quality solutions. My question to you is that you have been acknowledged internationally for your work in sustainability and climate change. Now the government has changed. We just had the deputy CM of the state. What is the one thing which you believe that your initiative which you want the current government to carry on with a new setup?
I'll take your question, but I don't call this a government, I call this an arrangement, but okay. I think, look, it's very important for us to understand whatever's happening around the world today is a huge playing factor on the economy, and what is happening is climate change. You're seeing floods, you're seeing hailstorms, you're seeing, heat waves, you're seeing almost everything across the country. Even today, when we speak about Europe, the winters are especially going to be tough on Europe, looking at the energy crisis and climate change. If you look at our own country, right now we're struggling, and we've been asking this government to declare a package for the farmers. We're asking them to declare what is called Ola Dushkal in Marathi. Unseasonal rainfall, heavy rainfall, all of this is a part of climate change. We need to move ahead on climate action. And this is something, again, that is going to go beyond ideology. This is going to go beyond party lines, because whoever's running the city, whoever's running the state or the country, we will keep changing as parties, we will keep changing as, ideologies that govern the country. This whole system of democracy is very dynamic. But what is not changing is what we will face as, part of what is happening to our world today, what is happening to our planet today. The Mumbai Climate Action Plan, similarly the Pune Climate Action Plan, Solapur Climate Action Plan, Thane Climate Action Plan, these are things that we need to go on, stick to, because finally we as the human race are going to bear the brunt of what is happening to our planet. We believe that we can control nature, we can control environment. We believe, ye kya itna jagah to clear karna hai, usme kya hai, cut these trees, let's build a building here, let's clear this, let's build a car shed here. But we don't realize that we're going to damage our future with such actions. And like I said right now, even today, most political parties in our country, most of us in our country today, we're fighting over what happened in the past. What happened 50 years ago? Was this person right or wrong? What he said was right or wrong? Who is fighting for our future? Nobody is. I think climate action is about our future, because for a country like us, where, for a country like India, where you have city is growing on a huge scale, but you also have a huge agrarian economy where you have, the economy right now, we don't know what is happening to it. There's unclear picture over the economy. We know that unemployment is on the rise. We know that there's also, different economic standards of rating us. The biggest hard-hitting factor to India today is going to be climate change. I think we need to start acting on it right now. We don't have the luxury of time to think about it.
All right, I think we can wrap with the audience questions. Thank you very much to the audiences for your questions. Now we have the final climax act, which is the rapid fire. So Aditya, are you ready for the rapid fire?
If I say no, I'm excused from that.
No, I'm afraid you don't have an option. So let's start. The one song that's playing on loop in Aditya's playlist.
Currently, I don't have a playlist, because by the time you head home, you're wanting to read something and sleep. So,
all right, the book that he's currently reading.
Currently, I'm reading a book on Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. It's just come in, someone sent. There's another book that I'm reading, which is also very fascinating. It's this book by Henry Kissinger on his 6 favorite leaders around the world. It's on leadership. So I think these 2 books I'm reading parallelly.
Aditya's most favorite food, since it's Ganpati season, most favorite food?
I have a huge sweet tooth problem, but I've been able to have, knock off little bits of pedas at because I've almost visited 160 different mandals and households, so I've been able to have 160 small drops of, sweet.
What is the one thing that Aaditya Thackeray cannot do without on a daily basis?
Tough. Because the thing is, there's one thing, of course, reading. I think that really, reading or watching something that is information consuming, because you've come to an age where information is available 24/7 around you, and if you don't have certain information in front of you, you sort of feel that you've missed out on something. So either watching a documentary or a good film on your phone, or reading, or having a conversation which is sort of, giving you some information, I think that is something I miss out if I don't do that.
The first app you open on your phone in the morning?
It's definitely not WhatsApp, so a lot of people complain about that. But I guess Twitter or Instagram.
Twitter or Instagram. The last movie you watched?
Top Gun.
Top Gun? Mission Impossible. Sorry,
Maverick.
Top Gun, yeah. Aditya's most favorite actor in Bollywood, both actor and actress?
I think actor would be, of course, Mr. Bachchan, because I think he's someone who I've seen very closely as family also, and someone who, puts that whole larger than life and yet the character on screen. So I think him for sure, yeah.
Actress?
I haven't thought of.
Really?
Avoiding all controversies.
We'll give you all the time for the rest of the evening.
I am not giving you headlines at all today.
Well, as someone who has a lot of filmy friends, that's difficult to believe.
I mean, you can have a lot of friends, right? And you have friends in cricket, you have friends in films. Just like my grandfather had friends in films and cricket. But, and you have friends in different political parties, but you can't ask me who's the political staff for you from that party.
Okay, last couple of questions. What does revenge look like for Aaditya Thackeray?
I don't believe in revenge. I think we've got to move ahead of that mindset of revenge. I think revenge is about forgetting the past, moving forward, and getting all the love and blessings from the people. Because I think if you get stuck in revenge, that's not something of an energy I really want to attract. It's going to keep hitting you. I really want to be out there, be loved and blessed by the people for the work I do. And if I keep getting engaged in revenge, someone who have taken revenge again is going to take revenge against me at a certain point. I keep away from that. I love working for the people. I love being engaged in that.
All right. One last question. I guess it's the million-dollar question. It's a question that all of us here in the audience also wants to know. When are you getting married?
The answers before this were easy. I could give you better headlines than that.
Aditya, one question from me. Mama's boy or Papa's boy?
It's a balance. It's a balance of both. I think, obviously, I've grown up very closely with the both of them. So I've traveled and toured with my father a lot, seen a lot of the state with him, learned a lot of my political ideology, learned a lot of my thoughts, framed them in his process of, how things should move, and seen him as a leader and a father both. But of course, when you have to, discuss something very passionately from the bottom of my heart, I think then I go up to my mother. Yeah.
Do you consult her for any of your political decisions, and is she happy with your political journey?
So when I was getting into politics, her first advice was, don't get in there. It's a world which is, not really, you need to be thick-skinned for that, you need to be strong for that. And she asked me, are you strong enough for that? Because she's seen this whole political story of betrayals before. She's seen it very closely. She's at a certain point, and she keeps away from politics. She's shy from politics. But she's been also publicly sort of dragged into it or blamed for a lot of things which she's not been responsible for. She's someone who's remained behind the scene and cared for the family. But I think that's where her perception of politics is. And, that's the advice she gives, that you need to be strong if you're in this field.
Aditya, the poet's favorite poem.
And you have to recite a couple of lines.
I think
yes.
of late I have been, reading Chitta Jite Bhaya Shunya, where the mind is without fear, by Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, very often trying to see the nuances in it and to see the layers in it. I think that, and the other one, purely for the words of the poem, and not, I'm not going into Rudyard Kipling's background or history, but I think that also means a lot when you read that poem. So these two poems really hit me hard whenever I read that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Aaditya Thackeray, can we have a round of applause, please?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that engaging session. I request all Mr. P. Saktivel, the Group CHRO of Network 18, to present a memento to Mr. Aaditya Thackeray. All right, I request all of you to please remain seated. We just have a small closing ceremony. I request you all to please be seated for another 2 minutes. With that, we are coming to the close of this town hall. I'd once again like to thank our sponsors. This event is co-presented by Reliance Industries Limited and Axis Bank. Associate sponsors Hyundai Kona Electric and 99 Acres.